de encontrar. Soy así, ya es muy tarde para cambiar. Yo no espero nada, vivo sin rumbo. Solo quiero amar cada segundo. Soy aquel.
Welcome back, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. Today, I would love to welcome back Andreas. Andreas has been connecting, yay, welcome back for the second time. Andreas has been connecting spiritual seekers to their spirit guides and galactic teams through channeled readings every week. When he's not channeling them directly, Andreas works with the spirit realm on the ground in his established energy, healing and tantric facilitation programs to support his clients clear energetic blockages and awaken their galactic gifts. Andreas is a certified yoga teacher through Yoga Australia and certified somatic practitioner through the Somatic Sex Educators Association of Australasia. I'm sorry, Andreas Anthony, back on a Little Less Fear podcast. Great to have you back.
Thank you so much, Lino. I'm really excited to be back and to be talking about spirit guides today. This is one of my absolute favorite topics.
This is your bread and butter.
It is now. It hasn't always been, but
Oh, great.
now it is absolutely my bread and butter.
Well, I first want to give a shout out to Feral Human, who's just been an incredible fan on YouTube. And thanks to Feral Human, we have created and we are creating, we're co-creating this episode here on Spirit Guide. So thank you so much, Feral Human, and thank you so much to all the new guests and watchers and listeners that are listening and tuning in for the first time. So spirit guides, like holy moly! I mean, I can imagine for people that are not spiritual that they hear this spirit guides. Like, what are spirit guides? Do they even exist? And is it even real? And how does anyone even discover like what a spirit guide is? And do we have spirit guides? There's just so many questions in regards to a spirit guide. But I'm curious about your journey before we get in the deep. How did you discover your spirit guides? How did you even know you had spirit guides or more than one or spirit guide?
It really can be quite an overwhelming concept. This idea that I have guides and they're intergalactic or interdimensional. What does that mean, and how do I access them? For me, like many that are listening, I I've had a spiritual journey for a long time. So since I was about 15, I started to open up my own spirituality, which started in yoga and then continued to deepen and grow. And as part of that, just like many people, I started to come across the concept of spirit guides. So I was sitting there going, I don't really know what this is. Is this even real? Like all of those same doubts
Sure.
I also shared. But at the same time, I think there's this curiosity on the other side of that doubt. There's almost a childlike curiosity that would love to be able to access
Right.
spirit guides, because it's not just guidance, it's fun, it's
Yeah.
support, it's a proof of something beyond.
Yes.
And I originally tried quite a few guided meet your spirit guide type meditations.
Mhm.
Most of them were free on YouTube, and I found that they weren't really helping, especially in the beginning. It did take me, I would say, it was a couple of years of not daily trying to meet my guides, but I would call in my guides and I would invite my guides to make themselves known to me. And eventually, as my own spiritual practice developed and my vibration was rising,
Mhm.
which is key, if you're bogged down in the muck of life and you're feeling really deflated and not in a good place, it's likely that you're not going to be able to make contact with your guides if you haven't already contacted them, because they need to meet you in the middle, and they raise somewhere that they live, you could say, up in the higher dimensional realms. So it's a lot harder for them to meet you when you're really bogged down in your stuff. So you do have to be you have to be vibrating at a fairly decently high rate, which I'm not, what that looks like is not, I'm not saying you have to be happy all the time and just positive and life's perfect. I'm definitely not saying that. Uh, but you do have to have a level of spiritual openness and a level of uh, working towards a spiritual development in order for the guides to come in. So
That makes sense because I mean, how can people, if they're just curious about this, just think, "Oh, spirit guides, come on in. I'm calling you in," and you're just feeling down and out, and even in general, like people really don't want to come visit if you're feeling down and out. But if you raise your vibration, people want to be around you more. If you raise your vibration, I mean, same goes with the other dimension. It's going to be easier for them to come around.
it is, and I don't want to paint the picture or the fear that if you, let's say you're really bogged down right now listening to this, oh well, I guess I'm a crap human and I'm never going to meet my guides. It's not like that. Your guides are still going to be supporting you, but in a way that's non-direct, because they can't come in and have a conversation with you if you're super bogged down. But what they can do is they can give you the 1111 on the microwave. They can bring beautiful humans into your life that will support you. They can give you those little perhaps mental uh, synchronicities, or when you might just have like a flash of something, or you see something, or you go, oh, that's interesting. Like these synchronicities are the way that guides can speak to us when they can't directly make contact
Oh,
with
I
us
love
yet.
this. And so,
Yeah,
speaking of like 1111, a lot of people call them angel numbers. I mean, is that also, are they not angel numbers, or is it just angel numbers and just higher dimensional consciousness coming through all at once?
it's a great question, and the answer for me is I don't know the exact truth of this, but what I feel came to me from my team, my guides now, is that the numbers, angel numbers is just a name. So it's angel numbers, higher numbers, cosmic numbers, into your guides can do the numbers. Yeah, it's not just the angelic realm
Hmm.
that can play with numbers. But the numbers are actually oh, this is going to go, oh, make sure this doesn't go too crazy, but the numbers are a reflection of the coding of the universe, because the universe is essentially like a code. You could think of the universe as being created by computer code. It's a bad example, but if you were playing a video game, that is that video game is a complete immersive experience, but ultimately, if it's virtual reality, it's code. It doesn't matter how real it feels. And similarly, what we're in, the Earth experiment, is in many ways a coded virtual reality. It's just on a cosmic universal design. So the numbers are like that code, and so they can play with the numbers. And when you're vibrating quite high, you will see more synchronicity. You will see more 1111s, more 333s, more triple eights. I mean, God, I've recently moved into state 2 weeks ago on an intuitive nudge, and I have been seeing angel numbers 3, 4 times a day. Every number plate, I'm another triple eight. Like, you can't make up how much I'm seeing it, because
Sure.
there is a synchronicity that I've tapped into here, and yeah, the code of the universe is reflecting that back to me. So that's where the angel numbers come in, and they're a sign that you're connecting. You're connecting to your higher dimensional team, um, and they can manipulate that code, so to speak,
Hmm.
to so that they can give you those hints. But I do want to come back to answer the original question around how I met my guides.
Okay.
So after I was calling them in for some time, eventually they started to make themselves known to me in meditation. But the guides that I work with now are actually not the guides that I was predominantly working with in the beginning. I still work with those guides as well, but far, far less. So as the point that I'm trying to make is that as you develop and grow spiritually, and your vibration raises, and your awareness of the totality of who you are as a soul expands, then you will have new guides come in, and you will work with you can work with a multitude of guides over your lifetime. It's not that you just have to get locked into this one guide. Some people, they have a really strong soul contract with a specific guide and they just work with that one guide all the time. But it doesn't have to be that case. You can play with it a little bit, which that flexibility helps when, yeah, for me it took me quite a few years to be able to meet my guides, and it may take the listener a little bit of time. But I've developed tools and programs and stuff to accelerate that process.
That's really fascinating. And so, when you first got connected with your spirit guides for the first time, was it an individual spirit guides or was it all your spirit guides all at once? And what was that process like for you?
Yeah, I got connected to my four earth guides. They would be the earthiest of my guides,
Mm.
the closest to earth, and they came to me in meditation. uh, but they revealed themselves to me over a period of probably months. I'm going to say it was more than weeks, where I would sit in meditation and slowly but surely this team of four guides was revealed to me. And they are all human like. So the first guide that revealed herself to me, her name is Anastasia or Anastasia. Um, and she's this gorgeous blonde hair, almost looks like, is it Elsa from Frozen?
Oh,
She almost looks like that, but she came to me way before Frozen was a thing.
yeah,
So,
okay.
um, but that's her energy, and so there's two female guides and two male guides in that team, and they work with me in different ways. And for example, another one of the guides, her name's kind of hard to pronounce. It's Tsiatska. Her name is very like earthy coded, and she works predominantly with me with the earth. So anything to do with grounding or coming back to the earth, that's when she tends to come in. And then I have two male guides that tend to work with me on my divine masculine stuff. Uh, but yeah, it was like it was kind of intimidating to meet them, to be honest. In meditation, there's this sort of, can I trust myself? Am I not? Am I making this up?
Yeah, I know exactly what you
Especially,
mean.
yeah, especially when you're on the journey of trying to find your guides, and then
Right.
something comes in, and you're like, hang on a sec, is this legitimate or not?
That's a good question to ask. So how do we know if it's legitimate or if we're just making it up? I mean, how can somebody know differentiate the difference? Differentiate the difference? Know the difference between the two.
Yeah, so your guides will show up repeatedly and over time. So if you're, let's say you're in a process of trying to meet your guides, and let's say you decided, okay, once a week I'm going to sit down for 20 minutes and maybe run this meditation or do one of mine or whatever it is, then your guides will come back to you again and again and again. And that's how over time you can develop that rapport with guides. But I also do a technique, uh, which is essentially you, because some context, if you're meeting your guides, it means that your psychic channel's opening, because that's what you're utilizing. That's the mechanism you're utilizing to be in contact with your guides, is your
Yeah.
extrasensory abilities.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that has to be open to a degree. That's why that comes back to your vibration. Yeah,
Right.
has to be at a certain point. And when your channel is open like that, you can come into encounters with beings that are just floating around in the astral, whether they're positive, negative, or whatever. So there is this level of discernment that then becomes a requirement in order to work with your guides. And that discernment you can build up over time. But a really great technique that I teach in my psychic development coaching is, I call it the 3 circles of love technique.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I actually did learn this from another teacher based here in Australia. So essentially what you do is, when you're in your meditation, you send a circle around you, like a loving, just like pulse, you could say, like a burst
Oh, I
of
love
loving
this.
light. Yeah, so you send that to the guide. So if you've got this inkling, or there's a something over here and I think it's my guide, I don't know, you send love to that. and you see how they respond. So if they back away or disappear, it means that they're probably not in your highest good. Yeah. But you do that 3 times. So you send out the first pulse, you observe. You send out the second pulse, you observe. You send out the third pulse, you observe. And what happens with the guides, or anyone that is there for your highest good, they will play with that love and that light, and they will step into that light, and they will create more joy in that light, and they will merge with that light, or they will say something like, you are that light and I am that light. Or, you know, whereas anything that's just, a little bit of a nefarious thing, they don't want to go there, so they'll just go bye, and they kind of just like slinky away.
Yeah, kind of like disappear slowly.
Yeah, or they might just boop, gone, or they might try and go, I am the light, and then they'll push into the first one, and then the second one they're like, nah, I lied.
And so, in order for us to tune in and then really acknowledge that it's one of our spirit guides coming through, what type of messages do they give us? What does that sound like? What does it feel like? Like, for example, when I'm in
Yeah.
a meditative state and I'm have the intention to connect with my higher self or to connect with angels or to connect even with um, loved ones on the other side. For example, if it's loved ones from the other side, I can think they come in through the not through my audible ear, but through my mind's eye or through my mind's ear, and I
Yes.
can hear their voice as if in when they were alive. So I know who I'm speaking to, and I'm also able to see them with my mind's eye. Same goes with
Yes.
angels, because I've done angel meditations. There's a specific voice, sometimes a woman's voice, sometimes a man's voice. But
Hmm.
how do we know if it's our spirit guide speaking to us? The same way?
Right. Yeah.
Or
So
is
if
it
you're
building the
saying
relationship with them and then recognizing them in your mind's eye from there forward?
building the relationship is a good thing over time, but from what you're describing, it sounds like you're saying you've got this contact and you think that they could be guides, but you're not sure. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Hmm.
Ask, ask them.
Oh, simply
Um,
ask. Okay.
yeah, and just see what they say. And the thing about it is, it does require us a sense of being quite grounded and still within ourselves, because
Mhm.
yeah, when we get something, those first few times we're like, oh my god, it's happening, and then we panic a little bit, and then we might overthink it or whatever. So be gracious with yourself, yeah, but because you might ask and then your brain might be like and freak out or something, and then the answer's
Right.
muddled. But it does require patience over time. I think that's really important. It's not like, oh well, this is the first time, I have to get it right and this is it. Your guides aren't going anywhere. And so uh, I would say just ask and then let them show you, let them tell you, because what you're speaking to is the clairaudience and the it sounds like a clairvoyance type thing.
Hmm.
And so they will utilize the things that they know that you have access to in your psychic abilities
Right.
to work with you, because your guides want, they want to be there for you. They're
Yeah.
not like the elder council that are sitting in the Game of Thrones
Chill.
ivory tower that are like, no, they want to meet you.
I love what you said right now that they'll utilize like they'll basically utilize what they know what your awareness has been in this third dimensional reality, and they know how to use they know your frame of references to be able to give you messages, which is
Yeah,
really
that's right.
incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
because
just you
this,
remind go ahead.
no, you go. I want to hear from you.
Oh, so I remember I did this meditation. I was being trained, for like 3 years by this incredible psychic medium woman, Barbara Reed. She's in Perth, Australia, and we meet maybe a couple times a month, and she's in her mid 80s. She's been doing this her whole life, and she's really calm and patient and funny too at the same time. But she told me, when I was trying to figure out who are my spirit guides and why are they important, and how do I even know if they're around? And she says, well, give them something. Give them something, to for example, she said, think of something and tell them I want to see this, and this is going to be a symbol of my spirit guide or my spirit guides to show me that you're around. And it has to be something that's not obvious, like, oh, the color yellow or the color green, like, just because that's everywhere, something a little bit more specific. So I said, okay. And I remember I did this meditation. And I said, okay, how about a four-leaf clover? That's not
That's a
something
good
you
one.
see all the time. And so ever since then, I mean, it's been in the most unusual places. I'm with my mom somewhere out of town, and then there's a bar with four-leaf clovers everywhere, and I'm like, what? Like little things like that, where I'm like, oh, my goodness, there it is. So and they bring that to my attention. It's like before I didn't recognize a four-leaf clover. It wasn't in my attention at all, and so or me, it was my frame of reference, but it didn't spark of interest. And so now the interest is because I assigned the four-leaf clover to them, whether it's my team or whether it's just one, but it's basically them saying, hello, we're here and we're around.
That is such an epic. It's like a fun game to play, right,
Yeah,
with your guides. Yeah.
right.
And they love that because that's the vibrancy of joy and love,
It
and that's where
is.
they are. So, yay. I actually haven't done that, I should do that.
Yeah, dude, it was fun. It's a lot of fun. And this goes back to what you said in the beginning of this episode. You said that it's almost childlike. And so
Yes.
when you get into this childlike really is creation, and it's open, and it's an open heart, it's an open mind, and it's playfulness, and playfulness is a high vibration. That's why when kids play, they can play for hours and hours and forget to have lunch or dinner because they're vibing so high, and it's like it's freezing outside, it's snowing, they're playing out there with shorts and short sleeves. It's like they're vibing so high, temperature doesn't even matter. So, I mean, it really makes sense to go back to that childlike presence that exists within all of us in order for us to connect with higher energies.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think you'll find that when you start to, and anyone listening, as they start to make more contact with their guides, it's almost, it's shocking just how childlike they can be. Yeah, they can have a serious tonality to them if you need them to be, but they're vibing out in love and light and joy and presence and all of these good things. So they feel like that. They feel great.
They really do. I'm gonna have to share my one of my spirit guides here. I've never actually shared it on on my podcast before. So going back to the same meditation, and this maybe a couple years ago, where I discovered one of my spirit guides. And also there's always the am I making this up, just as you brought up earlier, am I making this up? And so I thought, I like to connect with one of my spirit guides. That was my intention. I thought about it through the day, and I was feeling good through the day, just exercising, walking around in nature, going for a walk, and eating the stuff I love, and just feeling good. And so the evening came, and I said, okay, it's time for me to spring forward into my intention here to meet one of my spirit guides. And so I take some deep breaths. I'm feeling good, and I close my eyes, and in pops in the image of a garden gnome. And at first, I was like, "What? No, what? No, well, no, 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 no. This is not true. I mean, what? Why am I seeing a garden gnome?" And then I took a deep breath, and I hang on a
It
minute.
couldn't be.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, hang on a minute, hang on a minute. Well, why not? I'm in a receiving mode. I am receiving this. And I know I'm not making it up because I didn't push for that thought. And that's a really great way to figure out whether you are making, quote unquote. We are never making anything up, by the way, people. We're like satellites and receivers. We're always receiving information. But just so that you know the difference between whether you are receiving or pushing information, it depends on how easy it comes in. Usually, if you're pushing for a thought, you're pushing to receive something rather than just inherently easily being an open mind and just energetically it soaking through your mind as with little effort. So if it comes into your mind with little effort, then you know it, you are being received, you are being gifted with this image. And so while I was being gifted with the image of a garden gnome, in which I know this is also an audio podcast, but those seeing the video, this is the image of what came through my mind. See this garden gnome right here. And no, he's so rad. I love him. And so when I finally said, okay, fine, I am seeing a garden gnome with my mind's eye. Let me keep my eyes closed and stay focused. And I said, okay, well, I see a garden gnome. And I said, well, hello. And at the moment, we weren't communicating yet telepathically, but he was very hyper. He was jumping around, doing flips, and I started kind of laughing. I was like, whoa, you're a hyper gnome. I'm like, okay, you're really fun and energetic. And then I said, well, let's give you a name. Do you have a name? And then all of a sudden, I've got an image in my mind. There is this a famous hamburger spot out here in Los Angeles, LA, Los Angeles, California. It's called Mel's Diner. And so I saw the light flashing of Mel's Diner, Mel's Diner, Mel's Diner in like neon. And I said, "Oh, your name is Mel?" And then I got the image in my mind's eye of the cartoon called Elvin and the Chipmunks. And you hear the father yelling, "Elvin!" And I thought, "Oh, Elvin? Oh, Melvin. I get it. Elvin. Oh, your name is Melvin." And then I saw him do a flip like he was telling me, "Yes. Yes, my name is Melvin." And I said, "Whoa, great. I mean, I guess this is fun. I'm just going to go with whatever. Even if I'm imagining it, I'm laughing." And even some tears were coming out. So when I start to feel that joyful to the point where tears are coming out, I know that what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing is real. And so I'm not delusional. I know I'm not crazy or psychotic or anything like whatever whatever people want to use to define when people are delusional. But I know that I'm in my full sense because I'm in happiness and I'm in joy and I'm in bliss. And I know that I'm coming from a heart space. And excuse me, I didn't really mean to say the word crazy, as crazy is bad, or be derogatory about it. But these are some of the things that people might say to people if you tell people this outwardly
Mhm.
without them really knowing what you're connecting with or what you're speaking with. People could eeasily be like, "How do you know you're not crazy?" But just so that people know, nobody's crazy. By the way, everyone's just on their own dimension, on their own frequency. So circling back to this was my connection, and that's how I met Melvin, one of my guides. And I figured out he is my joy guide because I asked him, and he appears to me in my mind's eye at times when I'm being too serious, when I'm not having fun, when I'm working too hard. I will just get an image of him smiling or doing a flip, and then I know it's time for me to call it a day, call it quits, and have fun. And I just
Yeah,
went out.
exactly.
That was probably Melvin coming through to me right now, pushing me, right? Keep going, keep
I
going.
love this. What a great example of a guide that is so. The thing that I love about Melvin is that he's fun. He's a garden gnome. Your guide decided to show themselves to you as a garden gnome because of all the qualities that has.
Yeah,
All the childhood like joy qualities
right.
and doing the flips and all of the little things, right? And I love it because we often take it so seriously that our guides have to be this elder council that are so wise
Yeah, like
that
in Lord of the Rings or something where you see like
yeah,
long
or
hair and
even
all
just
like
here
long
on the
cloaks or something. Yeah.
yeah, but like even here on the internet, you've got people like me or so many people that are channeling the council of this and that, and it's
Yeah, I've
it's
heard it.
kind of intimidating. Um, but your guides are, they come in all forms, shapes, and sizes. Some human, some gnome, some very, very not human, and they will there's a purity in the essence, isn't there? There's a
It is.
purity in the essence and what they're here to call forth from you, and that's as simple as for yours for this particular guide, and you'll have more. It's joy, and
I know.
lightheartedness, which is that's freaking high vibe, right?
Hey, Andreas, can our ancestors or our past loved ones that have passed on from this current dimension life, can they become our spirit guides, or do they have to go through like their own lessons or something? Does it take year or hundreds of years
Yeah.
before they can actually be a spirit guide?
No, they can. They absolutely can be. So, ancestors that you are aware of or not, uh, whether they're bloodline or perhaps connected to you through some other way, such as culture, uh, they absolutely can be. And yes, sometimes deceased loved ones will come back as a spirit guide for somebody else. So, especially if that individual uh, is really was really close to that person, or the individual stands to learn a lot from the soul essence that person carried in the lifetime that they had on the earth. So when a spirit guide comes in the form of a deceased loved one, and they don't have to even be your mom or your dad. Sometimes people's are like it's like their random cousin or this uncle that they met when they were a kid, but then they like
Mhm.
fell out of contact with or what have you.
Mhm.
It's because that as a human being, they carried the qualities that you're seeking or needing from your spiritual guidance team at that time. So that's it makes sense for them to show up in that way. Uh, for me, I have a few really dear loved ones who've passed in the last decade, and they do come to me fairly frequently actually, but not so much in the format of a guide. They're more as a heart human heart connection that I have, and they do guide me. So I guess you could say in some way they're spirit guides, but they're not necessarily my primary spirit guides that I tend to work with. But I just wanted to put that in there because your deceased loved ones don't have to be a spirit guide in order for them to make themselves known to you and work with you.
Thanks for that. Appreciate it. Something else I'm wondering if, and this is just, because I'm thinking about it, are we able to appoint spirit guides? Or
Mm.
are they signed to us or assigned to us throughout this life, depending on our journey and depending on what we're going through? For
Yeah,
example, am I able to, let's say that I'm studying this stuff for the first time, and I'm reading about Archangel Michael, and I'm like, you know what? I would like to assign him to be one of my spirit guides. Like, would I be able to come in and be like, hello, nice to meet you. Will you guide me through? Would you be able to be my guide through this life? I feel a connection with you. I've been reading about you. I'd love your energy.
yes. The answer is yes.
Nice.
Archangels, ascended masters, even galactic beings, even galactics, they are, but especially archangels and ascended masters, you can call them in and they'll work with you because Archangel Michael, Isis, Metatron, it doesn't matter who it is or what these higher, Jesus even, these higher frequencies, they're here for all.
Hmm.
They really are. They're here for all. You could think of them as the spirit guides of humanity.
I love this.
So yeah, so you can call them, and that's a really great example of how you have so many layers of spirit guide and guardianship. And archangels or ascended masters they exist at that more collective layer that you can tune into. And then of course you have your personal guides like Melvin or like mine. So yeah, and I would say that's if somebody is listening to this who has been trying to meet their guides and has been struggling, it's actually a really great idea to start with the collective guide. So call in Archangel Michael, for example, and see how he makes himself known to you. And it may not happen straight away. It may happen over time and with a bit of commitment, uh, or with even a bit of training. And it can start from there because once you've developed that connection and those pathways, those psychic pathways start to open up, then yeah, you'll be able to work with your personal guides as well. And the personal guides, to come back to the first part of your question, they're soul contracted to you. So you, on a spirit level, on a soul level, you have decided that you would work together in this lifetime. And it's likely that you've worked together in multiple lifetimes in different capacities. So maybe you were their guide, or that you are their guide in another lifetime that they're sitting in.
Interesting. So, karmically speaking, we're tied together.
You can be, yeah, absolutely. And the
That's really
degrees of
beautiful.
that, yeah, the degrees of that will vary based from soul to
Mhm.
soul. But yeah, there's in order for a guide to be working with you like for a while, there's bound to be some form of soul agreement between you.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And do spirit guides have specific roles?
Yes, yes, they do. Some can be more of an overarching guardian. Uh,
I'm sorry, did you
some
say overarching guardian?
Yeah, so some of them are more overarching guides or guardians. They're there as your favorite best friend, yeah. So they're there for it all. But some, like Melvin, they're very specific to a
Hmm.
particular energy. And
Yes.
I was talking about my guides, the earth guides that I work with. So
Yeah.
Tsiatska, she's got a very earthy vibe. So whenever I'm working with her, it's got something to do with the earth. When I'm working with some of those masculine guides that I mentioned, like it's about the masculine energy and helping me to tap into that in a way that feels uh, really present and really correct for me, and learning about that in a healthy and higher expression. So or even things like courage. You know, one of my guides really embodies that idea of courage. So they all work for you in different ways. In fact, I even have I don't know if I'd use the word guide. I guess so. Um, it's like a past life connection. um, but I work with her in business, so she's like my 5D business consultant.
That's so rad. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But how did
Um,
you know, Andreas? How did you know that this was their roles? Like, how do you know who is going to be able to guide you through something specifically?
oh, that's a great question. Um, so with the Earth guides, they just told me, and over time I started to realize, just like with when Melvin came to you, you would be like, oh, you're fun, you're cute, you're doing your thing, and you just know. Yeah, they speak to you in that clairsentience. They speak to you in that knowingness. So whilst working with them, you get the feeling that this is what they're about, and then you start to realize, oh, this is what they're doing, and this is their signature frequency. You can ask them, or with the business consultant that I work with, I asked for one. I said,
Mhm.
hey, I would like to start working with a guide in the higher dimensional realms for my highest good, for the good of me, for the good of my business, and all the work that it does, and all the hearts that it touches along the way. And then she walks into the room. So, and in that way, I invited her in.
I
And
love that. So you had the intention of the energy and the vibration that you needed to be on, and then, as you said, you invited her and you allowed her and you opened the doors in your mind's eye, and then she stepped up.
yeah, and this guide is like badass. She's so cool. She's so cool, and she's amazing. She wears these almost like leopard print shoes, and she's very professional, but she's also very sexy, and she's just so radiant and loving and kind, and bright red lipstick, and she embodies such a specific energy of confidence. And I feel like that's probably something that's important in my business, for example. So she's come in embodying all of these frequencies, very different to Melvin the gnome.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh, very
But
different. Yeah.
with a specific um, frequency
Mhm.
and theme. But uh, it is important to note as well that they don't have to be specific, and
Mhm.
you can have that sort of spiritual best friend as well in your guides.
Thanks for sharing. That's really incredible and magical. As you're saying that, I'm wondering also if your business guide, your business spirit guide coming in with this energy is also to show you the type of energy that you need to push yourself forward to where you want to be. So if she's coming in with this certain demeanor and a certain confidence, perhaps that's what she feels maybe you need to mirror in order to get yourself to where you want to be.
Mm, let me. That's. I love this. I'm just seeing what she wants to say about that. Or okay, yeah, she's saying. So she showed me a dove, and that's when I see a dove. That's for me. That's almost just like the clover, the four-leaf clover.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see a dove in my mind's eye, it's like the yes, the this is good. You're on the right track. And she was saying that what you're saying is correct. She's like, yes, but make it you. She was
Yes.
saying, don't mirror me, don't copy me, because as a guide, she's her own being.
True.
And she's saying, make it you. So yeah, I think that's a really great take. But I didn't know. So I was like, well, let's just check with her in real time.
I love that we could just literally come in and just ask them because they're always available to us. They're in a dimension where there's no time space that we have here, so they can connect anytime with us. 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, or right now, whatever time it is, wherever we're at.
Yeah, that's right. And you can get to the point where that is possible. You know, we did a little bit of a tune up right at the beginning of the call before we started recording, and I think
Sure.
that's always important to come from a high frequency. I
Yes.
do not call upon my guides when I'm feeling. I call upon them for support, but I won't open up a psychic channel when I'm
Mm-hmm.
super bogged down having a really bad day, because you're playing with energies that you probably
Mm-hmm.
don't want to play with when you're opening up psychically.
That's true.
But yeah, so there's a level of this like cosmic responsibility when you're playing with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I would suggest that uh, you know, people just keep at it, and you work with it. And these abilities, for me to just tune into my guides straight away, that isn't where it started.
Sure.
Before, it was like, oh God, meditate, open up, see if they come. Maybe they won't. I don't know. And it's taken me a long time to develop this ability to work with them. And, you know, that's what I teach people how to do now. But I think it's a take the pressure off. Yeah.
So, who do we connect with when we are feeling low and down? Because that could be a really lonely place. And if we're used to vibing high and connecting with high vibing humans in this third dimension, or just humans in general, and then being able to come into our own space behind closed doors or somewhere wherever feels sacred to us, and we're able to connect with divinity. And but what happens when you're feeling down and out, and just feeling lonely? Like, how do we get ourselves back up, and who do we connect with if we don't want to connect on social media, we don't want to connect with our human friends. How do we connect with higher dimensions or angels or anything other than if we're not vibing there?
That's such a great question. And I think it's really important to take away any form of spiritual puritanism, where it's this idea that I have to be vibrating high in order to be doing it right and in order to be a good human. And if I'm not vibrating high, then my access to the spiritual realms isn't there. That's not what I'm saying. And I think
Mhm.
it's really important we don't put that pressure on ourselves, because the
I love how you said
reality
that. You call
is,
that spiritual puritanism.
yeah, this idea of like, if I'm not
Mhm.
high vibe 5D all day every day, then I'm
uh,
somehow doing it wrong, you know. And
yeah,
that comes from the ego. That doesn't come from the
that makes
purest part of
sense.
yourself.
Right, right.
So I'd like to say that you have access to your guides at all times. You do. What I was saying before is that if you are channeling with your guides, if you are communicating with your guides in a
Hmm.
really open psychic channel way, unless you've been doing that for some time and you feel very connected to it, if you're just dappling with this stuff,
Hmm.
then that's when I wouldn't be doing that sort of thing and calling in conversations that are like that,
Hmm.
unless you are vibrating in a place that is neutral at least.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean you can't work. And actually, it's important to say why, because you don't want to open up your psychic channel as a fledgling, like learning how to do it, and then you get negative energies come in.
Right.
Now, I don't like to fearmonger. I don't like to say that you're going to be susceptible to that. But when it comes to working psychically, like attracts like. So if you're vibrating at this really low
Yeah.
place, bogged down, then you're more susceptible to calling in something and not being able to utilize your discernment in the same way that you might otherwise be able to do it. But you can still work with your guides all the time. You know, if you're sitting in the car and your like head is in your hands and you're going, "Oh my God, that was the worst day ever. I feel so alone, so afraid," you know, then you can still call in your guides to help you. And I did this just yesterday. Just yesterday, I was having such a bad day because, you know, I have just moved. And for the most part, I feel really aligned and really spacious and 333, and it's so synchronistic.
Hmm.
And yeah, yesterday it just hit me. I was like, my family aren't here. I I have not established myself here. I'm still building out my network and my connections. I'm still grounding. I don't know where I am. And it all hit me yesterday.
Hmm.
And so, no, I wasn't channeling a conversation with my guides yesterday. But what I did do is I just asked them to help me and I asked them for support. I went to the beach, I sat on the sand, I closed my eyes and I just breathed. And I did a little bit of singing and I tuned into the loving energy that my guides carry. And I, I just used the singing and the beach and the chilling out to rest into that joy frequency a little bit, just a little bit, you know. It's almost like getting a hug from your guides. It's like that. It's like, okay, you've had a really crap day. We're here for you. We've got our energy around you. We're giving you a beautiful hug, and we're gonna hold you in that. And then that lifted me up a little bit. Did it make me feel 10 out of 10? Like, well, now I'm just peppy and ready.
Yeah.
No, of course not. Your human emotions and your humanity is still
Sure.
there. But that's how you can work with them. Ask for a sign. Ask for a flash of support. You know, do things like that. That's how I would do it. I hope that that explains it properly. I don't want to ever tell people that you can't do something. You're the sovereign steward of your own ship. Do what you want to do. But what I've learned along the way is that your frequency really does matter when opening up psychic stuff. So you do want to be discerning about that and how you go about doing that.
That's really excellent. Thank you so much for that example. I was really able to feel it and really understand it for myself as well. And so, just to summarize it, it's best to, if you are going to have an active mental communication, telepathic, if you want to say communication with your spirit guides, that's best to do it when you are feeling good about yourself, about your day, vibing high. But if you're feeling down and low, that is an invite to other energies that are also on that low vibing frequency. So you might be getting a disruption of messages that actually really aren't in its purest form, and can come with a negative frequency such as fear or just things that are not going to really uplift you. But what you can do is ask them for help and be open to receiving help in any way, whether it's a sign or a motivation for you to get out or even take a nap or eat some ice cream. So I'm just, I know you didn't say that, but that's just what I'm feeling into what you said right now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. I do actually have this urge to pull in a message from the angels if that feels in resonance with you.
Absolutely. Yes. Always.
Okay, sweet.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
because I feel like this question is important and I don't know if human Andreas has quite the words.
Sure. Thank you.
So I'm just going to tune into that. I'm just tuning into the angelic realm. I do work a lot with the angels as well, and I feel like that's the frequency that wants to come through and offer their perspective about this particular question of, well, when is it a good time to tune into my spirit guides, you know? Hmm. 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 Okay. So what they're saying is that we can look at this a different way.
Okay.
Rather than thinking about it as an emotional binary of I'm feeling good and therefore I can access, or I'm feeling bad and therefore I cannot access. Rather than thinking about it in that way, they're saying instead, you know that you always have access because access is never turned off. You are always in access because as a
Mm-hmm.
soul, and they're drawing my attention into the heart space, right into the center of the heart where the heart chakra, where it's shining out with love, where your soul resides. They're saying it's not a door that is, that opens and then closes. It's not a gateway or a switch that you turn on and then you turn off, and you can access your guides or not. Your guides are always there for you. They're always with you. You are them in many ways. You are the same soul in different experiences. And so you are always in communication with, you are always accessing your guides. And as long as you move in from your heart center, as long as you move into the connection of your guides from the place that is vibration of love, of joy that mirrors your soul radiance, when you connect in through the mechanism of your heart space, know that it cannot go wrong. Know that you are divinely protected. Know that you are going to connect to the right place. That's their message.
That's a beautiful message. Having faith and trusting. I think that's really important, to have faith and to trust.
Yeah, and I think something that I just didn't consider, is that they wanted to remind us, is that the access is always there. It's an always on thing. It's like the sun. The sun is always there, even at nighttime. It's not like the sun isn't there anymore.
That's
It's
so
just that
true,
we
right?
don't.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's what it's like. The sun is always there. We've always got access to it, and there could be the illusion that we don't, especially when you're like, I don't know who my guides are, but it is there. And this loving heart of yours is the way to
Connect to your
connect.
heart space, your heart center. But what if thank you so much for channeling that. That's really beautiful. And thank you to the angelic realm for coming through. It's really a really it's just a blessing to be able to receive messages like this and to get clarity like this. But I'm wondering, if somebody is feeling so down and so low that their heart chakra is so dim, how does one reach into their heart at that moment when they're all mind at that time?
Do you mind if I keep working with the angels?
Of course.
I just feel like they're going to say something that's better than what I'm going to say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
they're nudging me. They're like, yeah, we're here. We'd like to continue this. Um, and they're saying that we are holding those those people, which is all of you, in our heart, because we know that as a human being, it is almost impossible to not experience this at times in your life. And for some, these times are longer and more arduous than for others who may experience it in perhaps more fleeting moments. And yet we would say that the vehicle of your heart, it never goes away. It never not shines. It is just that you have turned your back on it. And if you are in a place where you feel like it is always darkness and there is no light, then the best way, the next point of action, is to turn to face your light, to turn back to face, to recognize that there is light there, even if you do not feel it, even if the sun is shining but the clouds are so thick that you don't see it. You still know it's there, because there is enough light in the day for you to see your hand in front of you when you look at it, and to know that this is my hand that is illuminated by something, and what it is illuminated by is your light. And so it is the recognition that the light is there even when you don't feel it, and to allow yourself to be put into the stream, the flow of love from other individuals, whether they be friends, family members, therapists, support officers, counselors, whether they be tuning into loving souls through podcasts, through Medium, just like this. This is how you can slowly turn face towards the light, that you are the love that is coming into your heart, by receiving it from the loving, shining heart of others, other souls that are also connected deeply into this universal love and oneness that you are. When you connect into that through them and allow yourself to receive the love from the care that they give, from the support that they offer you, that will open your heart. And as it continues to open like a flower, you will be able to welcome in more of your light. And at one time, eventually you will be able to come into contact with your guides in a more specific way. But why search for guides outside of you? Why search for guides off planet? Why search for guides in interdimensional spaces when you have enough guides, love, and support in the humans around you? Turn to them first before you then turn to us, because you need them, so that when you are ready, then you can turn to us. That's what they wanted to say.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Andreas, for being a conduit and to be such an incredible messenger. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. And you know what?
It
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 makes so much sense.
it does, and even when it comes through me in that way, and it's like a wisdom that I don't have. I do have, but the my access to it is different. So
Sure.
when I tune into the angelic frequency, it
Yeah.
just, you can see how gobsmacked I feel, because what they spoke to, I just know I wouldn't have been able to say unless I had opened my channel to connect.
Right.
But I do want to say that they aren't outside of me or us. The angels are part of us. The guides are part of us. That's part of the message they had for us, is that it's like us calibrated at a higher level. They don't have the illusion of being the little earth human, yeah. So when we are connecting to our guides, it's not like I'm zooming off into the land of the somewhere else and trying to pull the wisdom. You're actually going deeper into the totality of your soul. I know that that sounds kind of confusing and convoluted, but what I'm trying to say is we're all one, and the idea that we're separate from them and we have to reach out to grab their message is not true. The message comes from deep within us. It comes from our soul. And so we're connecting inside of ourselves when we bring these messages out.
Absolutely love it, Andreas. Thank you so much for these incredible messages. Really powerful, really uplifting, really motivating, really inspiring, and really humbling, and just full of love and full of joy, which is what we all seek. And it's all within us, just like you said.
Yeah, for sure. And I can see your gnome guide doing lots of flips,
He
like
probably
running
is.
around.
Yeah, running around. Yeah, he's fast. He's a fast one. He's hyper. I love it. So I wanted
Yeah,
to share a
yeah.
little piece that I wrote for because I write poetry. I've been that's how I channel love since I was a little kid. Actually, since I was about 5 years old, I started writing, I and so I wrote this just dedicated to this episode here. It's in this moment of silence where I can connect with all that is, and all that is shows itself in the now moment. It's in the moment of silence where I can feel myself being hugged and wrapped in a golden blanket of love, receiving the light that's within and without me. In this silence is where brightness speaks loud. Thank you.
Mm, thank you. I really feel that resonance with the angel frequency in that poem.
I
That's
know, right?
beautiful.
So interesting that that came out right as you were channeling messages from the angel realm, because you did mention that the word hugged earlier. That when you receive these messages, it feels like a hug. And I already had written that down. So I mean, it's just the alignment. I mean, talk about being on the same frequency or on the same channel. I
I
absolutely love
love
it.
that. Me too. That's awesome.
Thank you so much, Andreas Anthony, for being back on A Little Less for Your podcast. If there's another spiritual concept or thought or topic that you'd like to cover, feel free to contact me or Andreas Anthony. Where can our viewers, our watchers, and our listeners find you if they need to get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on all of the things. If you are here on YouTube, then you can just see me on Awake in the Game. is my YouTube channel. But my business is Andreas Embodiment. So if you just Google Andreas Embodiment, uh, then I will come up. And it's worth noting I do have a free psychic protection guide. It's just like a free download PDF. I put everything in there: crystals, sage. Sorry, the dogs are going. That's our sign to wrap up. I put everything in there, and that's a little free resource I have so that people can start to feel like you've got enough inner know-how to be psychically protected, so that you can open then up to your guides, to the angels, and to all of those things.
Andreas Anthony, remember to subscribe to his channels. Remember to subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to a Little Less Fear podcast with Andreas Anthony. Thank you so much, everyone. Wishing you all love, light, and happiness.